I will tell you something about the Alliance before I tell you about her. Border lords had been fighting for 11 years. 3 packs, 2 Highland holdings, 1 River Valley clan, and between them, blood enough to fill the Ardenvale Gorge twice over. When they finally came to my hall to lay down their grievances, they brought an offer wrapped in silk and pride. 5 women of standing, 1 from each of the 3 largest packs, sent to the throne of the high seat as a gesture of goodwill. A bride for the Alpha King. A bond to hold the peace. Take 1, they said, and the border wars end. They presented them in the great hall on a Tuesday morning, in order of rank. First was Lord Caran's eldest daughter, tall, wolf-marked, trained from childhood to stand beside power. She was composed and impressive, and my wolf felt nothing. Second was the River clan's chosen, a woman with 3 battle commendations and a voice like a war drum. Strong and certain, and my wolf felt nothing. Third and fourth came from the Highland holdings, both well-born, both accomplished, both watching me with the careful eyes of women who understood exactly what was being negotiated in that room. Nothing, my wolf sat still as stone. And then the herald paused. He looked down at his parchment, he looked up. He said, with the particular uncertainty of a man reading something he had not expected to find written there, and a 5th, a healer's assistant from the Myron Valley. No clan mark, no rank designation. He looked up again. She is listed as accompanying the River clan delegate, a courtesy addition. The lords wish to note that this one is entirely optional. Entirely optional. I watched her walk in from the side door. She was not dressed for this. The others had come in formal colors, deep greens and river blues, silver thread, clan marks embroidered at the shoulder. She wore a traveling dress the color of oat straw, brushed clean but not fine, and she carried a worn leather satchel over one arm because apparently no one had told her to leave it at the door, or someone had told her and she had decided the satchel was coming regardless. She stopped at the end of the line. She did not look at the lords. She did not look at me. She was reading the room with the quiet, practical attention of someone assessing a wound, not performing calm, just genuinely calm, and her eyes moved from the fire to the stone ceiling to the width of the hall windows with the mild interest of a woman who had never been in a room quite this large before and was nodding it the way she might note a hill she had not seen before. Interesting. Useful to know. Moving on. My wolf had been still for 4 candidates. He was not still now. He did not surge forward. He did not make any dramatic declaration. He simply woke. The way a fire wakes when you open the chimney flue and the air finds it. Not a roar, but a steady, spreading heat. I felt it move from my chest outward, and I had ruled this kingdom for 14 years, and I had never felt that before, and I did not let any of it reach my face. I looked at the herald. I said, dismissed, all of them to guest quarters. I will give the border lords my answer before the evening bell. What I did not say, I had no idea what my answer was going to be. I sent the first 4 back with polite regret and gifts of genuine quality before midday. Lord Caran looked at me as if I had rejected a trade route. The River clan lord said nothing, which was worse. Both of them, I noticed, had entirely forgotten the 5th woman was still in my hall. I had not forgotten. She was in the east corridor when I found her, not wandering, not waiting with any visible impatience, but crouched beside one of my garrison's younger wolves. A gray half-grown male who had come back from the border rode 3 weeks ago with an infected foreleg that my healers had managed adequately but not brilliantly. She had the satchel open at her knee, and she was rebandaging the foreleg with quick, certain hands, while the wolf watched her face with that absolute stillness wolves use when they trust someone completely and want to be very clear about it. She did not hear me approach. She said to the wolf in the voice of someone holding a patient, light, one-sided conversation with a being who cannot answer, "I know, it itches. That means it is healing, which is not as comforting as I wish it were, but you are very patient, which helps." She tied off the bandage. "There." The wolf pressed its nose against her palm. I said from the doorway, He has not done that for anyone." She turned. She did not startle badly, a quick breath, a pause, then the composure restored like a curtain dropped back into place. She looked at me with gray eyes that were doing the same assessing thing they had done in the great hall, practical, clear, not performing anything. "I am sorry," she said. "I should not be in this part of the keep without permission. I saw his gate this morning when the others were being shown to their rooms, and I should have asked first." "You should have," I said. She waited. "The bandaging is correct," I said. "My healers have been managing the wound. You changed the dressing entirely." The wrapping was holding moisture in. It wanted air. She began to close the satchel. "I will go." "Where?" I said. She looked at me. It was a genuinely puzzled look. "The Lords presented you as optional," I said. "No one has arranged your return. Do you have a carriage waiting?" A pause. "I came with the River Clan party. I assumed they would." She stopped. She looked at the satchel in her hands with the mild expression of someone doing arithmetic. "I see." "Stay," I said. I did not mean for it to come out as plainly as that. It was not a command exactly, but it was not a question either. It was the most honest sentence I had produced all morning. She looked at me for a moment. Then she said, with the same plain practicality she had used for the wolf's bandage, "For how long?" "I am not yet certain," I said. "A few days. I will arrange proper quarters and a proper welcome. I should have done so from the start." "You did not know I was coming," she said. "The Lords are not entirely sure why I was included. I am not entirely sure either." She paused. "I am a good healer," she said, not defensively. Just a fact she was offering because it seemed relevant to the negotiation. "If that is useful to you while I am here, I am glad to help." Her name was Wren. I learned that from the garrison's duty log where she had signed herself in, not from any formal introduction, because there had not been one, because she had arrived as an afterthought on a peace treaty, and no one had thought to give her a proper one. She spent the first day in the infirmary. My healers, to their credit, recognized quickly that she knew things they did not. And by midday they had stopped hovering with the territorial anxiety of people defending their methods, and started asking her questions instead. By evening there were 3 wolves healed better than they had been in the morning, and the garrison's head healer, a steady man called Pellin who had served this hall for 20 years, told me at supper that the woman from the Myron Valley was the most practically skilled healer he had encountered in a decade, and he hoped I was not planning to send her away. I was not planning to send her away. This was the problem. My wolf had not cooled since the Great Hall. He burned steadily, banked coal warm, with a patience I had never felt from him before, not urgent, not demanding, but absolutely certain in the way a compass needle is certain, not straining toward north, just pointing there quietly, without any interest in pointing elsewhere. I had 14 years of being an alpha king, and I understood what this was. I had simply never felt it before, and I had privately suspected I never would. On the second day I found reasons to pass through the infirmary twice and the east corridor once, and less defensively, the kitchen garden where someone had told me she had gone to gather yarrow at mid-morning. I am a king. I rule 7 border territories and 2 highland passes, and I am not a man who paces. I paced. On the second evening she was sitting in the window embrasure at the end of the east hall with a cup of broth from the kitchen and a small book that turned out, when I came close enough to see, to be a herbalist's notation log, her own, filled margin to margin in a hand so small and precise it looked like the printing on a coin. She looked up when I sat down on the opposite side of the embrasure. She did not look surprised to see me. "You have been checking on your wolf," she said. "Yes," I said. "The foreleg is considerably better. He ate well tonight." "I know," I said. "Pellin told me." We sat for a moment. The fire at the end of the hall gave the stone its winter amber, and outside the window the first snow of the season was beginning, the kind that falls slowly and straight down because there is no wind to argue with it. "The border lords are gone," I said. "I know," she said. "I heard the horses this morning. They did not ask after you." "No," she said. "There was no particular bitterness in it, just a fact placed next to the other facts. I am not surprised." "I am," I said. She looked at me then with those gray eyes, and what was in them was not hope, nothing manufactured or performed, but attention. The same clear attention she gave a wound or an herb or a gray wolf's infected foreleg. She was listening to what I was actually saying. "I am sorry," I said, "for the manner in which you arrived. You deserved a proper introduction and you were given a parchment footnote. That was not worthy of you and it was not worthy of this hall." She was quiet for a moment. "You did not arrange how I arrived," she said. "No," I said, "but I am responsible for how you were received in my hall once you were here. I received you very poorly." She considered this. She said, "You did come and find me afterward." "That is a low bar," I said. A small pause. Then the corner of her mouth moved, not quite a smile, but close. "It is a slightly higher bar than you are giving yourself credit for." The bond blazed. Not a gradual warmth, not a building. It went from bank coal to full gold in a single breath, both wrists at once, mine, and I knew hers too because she looked down at her left hand with sudden stillness, and the gold light was warm and steady and very clear in the fire-lit stone of the east hall. She looked at her wrist, she looked at me, she did not say anything for a moment. I said, "I know what this is." "Yes," she said. "So do I." Another pause, practical and honest. "I did not come here expecting this." "I know," I said. I did not perform any of it for this," she said, with a quiet urgency I understood. She needed me to know that the wolf and the infirmary and the yarrow and the notation log had all been simply her, not a campaign. I saw the wolf's leg and it wanted fixing and— "I know," I said, "that is why." She went still. I said, "I have had women in this hall who performed everything for the exact purpose of being chosen. My wolf recognized the difference. He has been pointing at you since the moment you walked in with your satchel." The gold on her wrist was steady now, warm and settled. She was looking at it. I said, "I would like to name you Luna before this hall, before whatever lords and witnesses we can gather by tomorrow morning." I paused. "I would like to give you the welcome you should have had from the first hour, if that is what you want." She was quiet for a long moment. The snow fell straight down outside. Then she said, "My satchel needs to be properly unpacked." "I will have a room prepared for it," I said. "A good one." "All right," she said, "if you are certain." "I have been certain," I said, "since a Tuesday morning when you walked in reading the ceiling." The small almost smile arrived fully this time. "It is a very good ceiling," she said. I named her in the great hall the following morning. Pellin stood witness. The garrison wolves, 12 of them, the gray foreleg-heeled one at the front, turned toward her when she entered, with the quiet, unanimous attention of creatures who had made up their minds a day ago and were simply waiting for the rest of us to catch up. Lord Kivrin of the Western Holding, who had ridden back when my courier reached him, bowed first. His 2 lords followed. She stood in her oat-straw dress because her other things had not arrived yet, and she was completely composed. She held out her hand when I reached for it, steady and sure, and the bond settled into something that felt less like a new thing beginning and more like a thing that had always been true and was only now being said aloud. Later she unpacked the satchel herself, precisely, the way she did everything, each thing in its right place. I sat in the chair by the window and watched her do it, and my wolf was finally, fully still. Not the stillness of stone, the stillness of a compass that has found north and has no further need to search.